So I just got back from Eagles training camp yesterday, and man, the standouts were even better than I hoped. Plus, the real reason Howie Roseman went and traded for yet another cornerback, the injury updates we've all been waiting to hear, and why you should expect to see more starters play tomorrow night than anyone thought possible. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. With Philadelphia's first preseason game now just one day away, the Birds finish up their final full practice of the second week of training camp, and I was invited out by the Eagles themselves to see all the standout players and plays from a very interesting day. First, though, the winners of the 4 pairs of tickets to the Eagles Open Practice this Sunday are announced on this video at the very end, so watch till the end, see if you won, follow the instructions to go ahead and claim those. Oh, the next giveaway is less than 1,000 subs away. I'm almost to 100K subs, so signed Eagles gear, Eagles tickets, Eagles jersey, all happening when we get to 100K subs. Drop a like and comment down below, make sure you're entered. And before I recap the practice I was at, there are 2 big bits of news I must start on. The first of which being from Wednesday morning when Bengals head coach Zac Taylor announced that Joe Burrow and the Bengals starters will play for a couple of series versus Philadelphia, the link on Thursday night. And this is obviously massive news for 2 big reasons. One, the Birds will get to test their players against the best, especially the Birds defense, which I heard on Wednesday should play the majority of their starters for at least a couple of series. Vic Fangio not settled on a number of position battles and telling reporters earlier this week he needs to see people play in live game action to decide the winners. This naturally is not a massive shock because Vic Fangio did do this last preseason because everybody, including Jalen Carter, played at least 5 snaps during the Birds' preseason opener a year ago. However, the Birds' offense is another story as head coach Nick Sirianni refused to answer the question on Wednesday during his presser whether or not Jalen Hurts and the rest of the starters will play versus Cincinnati.
Yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, Howie and I have to make those decisions of who's playing. Obviously, I listen to input from all our coaches, what they think, and what they're feeling. But at the end of the day, just like everything, I got to make some final decisions. But yeah, we talk through everything.
From what I gathered, the offensive starters are not going to play on Thursday night, so don't expect to see Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the Lane Johnsons of the world, for instance. But A.J. Dillon, Will Shipley, all the backups are going to play, so defensive starters will, offensive starters won't, but Thursday is going to be a very interesting night nonetheless. Now, the other bit of news I haven't mentioned yet is the fact that Howie Roseman pulled off his 5th August trade in a row when he sent defensive tackle Thomas Booker to the Raiders 2 days ago now for cornerback Jakorian Bennett. And first off, I love Thomas Booker. I honestly wish him the best. He clearly can play and should get a ton more time actually with the starters on a very weak Raider defensive line. But the fact the Eagles were willing to trade Thomas Booker signals Fangio's continued confidence in Moro Ojomo, Ty Robinson, and now Gabe Hall more than ever. Bennett, however, is a fascinating cornerback we must mention. Not only was he drafted 1 pick ahead of Kelee Ringo a few years back while running a 4.30 at the Combine that year, but he has shown some serious man-coverage skills the last couple of seasons in limited spot starts with the Raiders. I mean, he's held big-name receivers like Cortland Sutton, Ladd McConkey, George Pickens, Jerry Jeudy, and even Jamar Chase of all people to a combined 5 catches on 12 targets. And that sounds great, right? Because at times, clearly, he can be a very good cover man corner on the outside. However, there's a reason the Raiders were willing to trade him, and that reason is not so great. Bennett suffered a torn labrum last year that ended his season early, and he was also not impressing anyone at Raiders camp the past couple of weeks. As of 3 days ago, he was 4th in the cornerback battle behind names like Eric Stokes and Darian Porter. However, he has been fully cleared from his injury and is apparently 100% healthy. And obviously, the Birds love Jahad Campbell pre-draft despite the same shoulder injury, so that's an indication Philadelphia is clearly not worried about the injury side of things and will look to see if he can actually compete for a starting job. So, Philadelphia liked him out of college. They have ties to the Raiders because an Eagles front office personnel just signed with the Raiders a couple of months ago. The trade makes a ton of sense for both sides. The question, as I just mentioned, is can Bennett actually compete on the outside for a starting job, or is he simply a depth piece?
I think Howie does such a good job of continually trying to improve our football team. No one does it better than he does, and we thought that was an opportunity to add some depth at corner. We feel good about our depth. Obviously, we'll miss Book and wish him the best, and we feel good about our depth at defensive tackle, but just a way to add some depth there at corner.
However, I'm not buying Nick Sirianni here. He clearly is understating why they traded for Bennett. Honestly, this is a massive referendum on Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson more than simply a depth signing like Sirianni just said. I mean, while I was at practice on Tuesday, Kelee Ringo and Jackson mixed around with the 1s and 2s, and honestly, neither of them stood out except for one nice coverage play that should have been a pick by Kelee Ringo, but of course he dropped it. Personally, I've also heard rumors that Vic isn't thrilled with Adoree Jackson, didn't really want him in the first place, with one insider telling me that Jackson could possibly, didn't have any real sourcing on this, but did say could be a cut candidate in the future if Bennett comes in and flourishes on the outside. Just a rumor, but I did find that interesting. Overall, this is a positive move, though, especially if Bennett is healthy and can come in and maybe provide more depth or even compete for a starting job and showcase that limited spot start ability where he has shown that he can be very good in man-to-man coverage. The problem, though, is I think it is a referendum on the Eagles' cornerback situation between Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo, so it doesn't give me too much hope there, but at least Howie Roseman went ahead and addressed it now, get him into camp, let him kind of figure things out and compete for the job instead of panicking week 7 or week 8 and making another Kevin Byard-esque trade that never eventually works out. Either way, the dominoes in Philadelphia have really started to fall, and they're not done yet. As far as the big takeaways from the practice I was at yesterday, my first 2 big takeaways were the fact that despite not practicing, Saquon and A.J. Brown, who I was with on the sideline, are totally fine. They're out there coaching up younger players, helping out with drills. Neither one is a long-term concern, despite not practicing for a long time now. They're just sitting out of an extra precaution. My big on-field takeaway, though, was regarding the wide receiver battle taking place right in front of where I was standing. Terrence Marshall Jr. returned following his long stint on the sideline with a knee injury, and honestly, he stood out as a lengthy, sure-handed weapon that made me kind of understand why A.J. Brown called him out earlier in camp as a serious threat to make the roster. The other big wide receiver standout has to be Elijah Cooks, who, trust me, in person, looks every bit the part of someone who should make this roster. I mean, even in 11-on-11s, he scored 2 touchdowns by my count, one of which was a great cutback move right in front of where I was watching on Eli Ricks that freed up Cooks for the touchdown. Cooks has a legit chance to make the roster. It's going to be tough, though, because there are some other guys Philadelphia might want to get in ahead of him. We'll talk about those in a second, but he is definitely a massive name to watch on Thursday night's preseason game and going forward. If Elijah Cooks balls out, he is going to make the roster. He looks pretty legit, especially since Johnny Wilson had at least 4 big drops that I counted well at camp on Tuesday, despite wide receiver coach Aaron Moorhead seemingly really trying to pull Wilson aside every chance he had to help him out in any way possible. I'm not sure how Johnny Wilson makes the roster based on what I saw, again, a limited sample, but it's very clear that he probably has the biggest uphill battle because Elijah Cooks is playing so well. Overall, though, the wide receiver group behind Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown is in very good hands. They look really impressive, way more than they have the past couple of seasons. And I agree with Devontae Smith post-practice when he said the fact that A.J. Brown has been out might be a good thing for the rest of the receivers. They're getting a ton of very valuable and meaningful reps.
I think it's good for him, to go against, guys like Hugh, Coop, and all those guys over there to get the experience of going against, those top guys. So I think it's good for them to get the experience. And then also for them just to, get with Jalen, get with, how he called plays and things like that, and the rhythm that he go through things because, you never know what may happen in the season. You might get called up to be in those situations. I think they're doing good. Those guys, they're really into the playbook. They know what to do. Now it's just about going out there just making the plays, When you know what to do, you can go out there and you can just play free.
My other big takeaway from camp, though, is the fact that Moro Ojomo, all the hype we've heard the past couple of weeks, is 100% legit, as I counted at least 3 sacks of Jalen Hurts during 11-on-11s. Although when not in pads, I must add, but man, he blew by Landon Dickerson for his first sack, and then had some really, really good bull rushes against the second and first teamers. I've mentioned Moro Ojomo every single day on my show since training camp has started, but I haven't been there to actually see, is he dominating? Has it been that serious? Let me tell you, I watched probably 20 Moro Ojomo plays in 11-on-11s, and he was maybe the best defensive lineman out there. Alongside Jalen Carter, there's going to be no way that you leave this guy one-on-one and not expect him to dominate this year. Buy your Moro Ojomo stock right now. I'm telling you, I'm going all in. Other standout players included Josh Uche, who I liked watching mix in with the 1s and 2s. He seems like the savvy veteran of this group, and also to the media post-practice, he loves what he sees from the young guys on the defensive line.
Great, young, hungry, versatile, and, well coached. Coach Washburn's a hell of a coach. So just, we have all the tools. It's just on us to come together.
Oh, and also, by the way, Jalyx Hunt's standout camp definitely continued on Tuesday. Second-year edge rusher flying around, whether with the starters or with the second teamers, one-on-one or doubled. He also seems very close with Josh Uche, who's kind of, again, the savvy vet of this group, and has clearly taken the young pass rushers, including Hunt, under his wing during the long hunt days of training camp.
That's my dog, man. Everybody in the room is my dog, honestly. Everybody on the team is my dog, but Uche is really my dog. I've learned so much from him. I watched a lot of his rushes. When you're that unorthodox and you can still make plays and he's able to get to the quarterback, that's what my job is. My job entails rushing the quarterback. So whenever I can glean anything from anybody, like him in my room, sometimes I just sit with him after practice and just ask, like, why do you do this move? Why do you approach it this way? Why do you approach it that way? What do you look for if they're in this formation, if they're in the shotgun underneath the center? So he's been a great year.
One other defensive end side note I noticed was that Patrick Johnson got some reps with the ones, like more than just one snap, so I thought that was significant. I know his chances to make this roster are not exactly guaranteed, but he really flashed during preseason last year, so another guy to keep an eye on. He'll play a lot on Thursday night.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I feel a lot stronger this year. I put a few pounds on just to try to size up, to be able to be a overall better player. And so, I feel great. I'm just looking to be able to come out here and, be a big role to the team.
Moving on to the offense, and once again, they weren't in pads, so take it with a grain of salt, but every 11-on-11 drill was done either situationally or in the red zone. And I think the offense really dominated the majority of the day, with Jalen Hurts finding Dallas Goedert high up in the back of the end zone over Drew Makuba, and then found Devontae Smith on a really nice deep ball. But Jalen's favorite pass of the day was clearly a ball he ripped right into Jalen Hurts between two defenders for a near touchdown grab down to the goal line that caused Jalen Hurts to get pretty darn excited after the play, and clearly it meant a ton for the Hurts and Jahan Dotson connection.
Yeah, I got fired up today. Jahan had a big time catch versus cover zero. But it's just you build those things based off of time and reps and the efforts put in. And so you see Dallas out there and that connection that we've had. I mean, that's been a special connection all camp. Smitty, AJ when he's out there, Jahan showing, and now that we're able to build. And so just keep showing up and keep making plays and keep taking advantage of it. But obviously I have a lot of confidence in Jahan. I had a lot of confidence in him as the year went on last year. And for him to make the big-time plays he made towards the end of the year, that was all strictly based off of confidence.
Dotson at practice not only was super nice to talk to, but obviously seems so much more comfortable than where he was last year. I keep hearing stories that it was so hard for the former first-rounder to get situated in this offense when he was traded at the end of training camp last season. However, Hurts looked his way a lot on Tuesday. I'm telling you, number 2 is going to be a real factor catching the football this year. Overall, I counted 5 passing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts in both 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. His one real blemish of the day was a overthrow deep ball where he had pressure in his face, just kind of lobbed it up into the end zone. I think it was for Elijah Cooks, clearly overthrown, and actually ended in the hands of Cooper DeJean for his first training camp interception. Side note on Cooper DeJean for a second, though. Philadelphia played a ton of base defense, and I saw Cooper DeJean take nearly every single snap at safety. I can only remember one time he was a nickel, but I think we're also going to get a pretty darn long look at Cooper DeJean Thursday night playing safety because Fangio loves him at that spot. Likewise, Jahad Campbell, he is such a specimen in person. I mean, he is literally always around the ball. No pads means I didn't get to watch him actually hit somebody, but his presence, as Jalen Hurts said post-practice, is really hard to miss on the field, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, for Jahad, he has a presence on the field with his range and how quick he is, how fast he is. He definitely is you can see he's a great football player. And he's just flying around. You see the guys come in, and you start to see him settle down, and just you're starting to see that a little bit from a reactive standpoint. He's going to continue to learn everything and build off of where he is, and they got a great linebacker room in there to help him along his journey. Great coaches, and so. He'll continue to build, but he has a ton of athletic ability, natural football instinct, and definitely feel it on the field.
Overall, I got to give a massive shout out to the Eagles Autism Foundation and the Eagles themselves for inviting myself and Josh Davis to training camp. It was absolutely awesome to go to my first one, and I cannot thank them enough. Also, a big shout out to all the fans who came up and said hi, saying they love the show. I love meeting you guys in person. And thanks to Ryan for letting me try on the Super Bowl ring for the first time. And yes, it's as big, if not bigger, and heavier than it looks. Finally, shout out to Big Dom for getting us close once again to Jalen Hurts right here, saying him happy birthday. That was fun. Zach Baun for a picture, and Sidney Brown as well. Going to training camp, it's as fun as it gets, and honestly, hope everyone has a chance to go and experience what we did just yesterday. I'm expecting some more trips up to Philadelphia pretty darn soon as well. It's been great to collab with Eagles Autism Foundation. They do great work as always. Now, if you want to go ahead and go to the Eagles Open Practice, there are still tickets available, I believe, for Sunday, but I have 4 pairs of tickets I'm giving away right now to 4 randomly selected subscribers in my comment section of the previous video, and those were Eagle09-NV5XD, at Kellen Tabor 7369, at Zeron08, and at Skinny Strong. You guys are the winners. Details down below how to claim that prize. send me an email, prove it's you. Let me know ASAP, because if I don't hear from you by, I guess, I don't know, Friday, I'm going to pick a new winner. So shoot me an email, confirm it's you, and I'll get those tickets sent out as soon as possible. There are still plenty more giveaways happening, probably some preseason tickets as well. Let me know which one you guys want to go to in the comments section. I'm Thomas Mott, back from Eagles training camp, ready for our preseason live stream tomorrow night. Tune in for that. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.